In today's Property Insider chat, Dr. Andrew Wilson and I discuss the latest My Housing market figures, which show that over the month of March, housing markets around Australia have strengthened. Both house and unit prices in many of our capital cities are increasing. If you want to keep up to date with what's happening in our property markets, please subscribe to this YouTube channel and click the little bell icon so we can let you know each time a new show comes out. Australia's property markets have been through a rollercoaster ride over the last few years, through pandemic-induced uncertainties and economic downturns to soaring property values and high demand around Australia, followed by a cyclical downturn in 2022. The market has seen its fair share of ups and downs. Now, as we move through 2023, many are wondering what lies ahead for Australia's property markets. Will rising interest rates kill our markets, or will we see a shift in the market dynamics? As we conclude the first quarter of 2023, I'm looking forward to Dr. Andrew Wilson's latest market update to see what's going on in our housing markets around Australia. Hi, Andrew.
Yes, good day, Michael. And it's going to be another big week in property coming forward, of course, because we do have the Reserve Bank meeting on Tuesday. And, there's a little bit of some rising sentiment that they may put rates on hold, but I'm not sure how they can justify that other than perhaps a better performance over the month for inflation. But certainly we've seen a stronger performance from our labour market down to record low unemployment levels, those monthly record lows, rising retail sales. And now the icing on the cake, perhaps, Michael, is that house prices are rising again. And that, of course, is contrary to what we would expect with 10 consecutive rises in interest rates. The latest data is showing us, and this is the March data, hot off the press, that national house prices have increased for the second consecutive month, up by 0.8% over March. This is the March quarter compared to the February quarter. The national house price is now at $1,013,474. And this follows those 9 consecutive falls in house prices. The last 2 months have been higher. And of course, this is creating momentum in the market because as we get the reports that house prices are now rising over consecutive months, it'll start to attract even more buyers who'll be keen to take advantage of what are still lower prices compared to a year ago. In fact, the national price is still down 5.1% compared to March last year. And if we look at the capital city, these are sales prices and they're taken over a quarterly period, so they're quite robust. We've got a reasonably significant amount of observations. The monthly data can be a little volatile. This gives us a little bit more to work with. And it's comparing, what we call a rolling quarter model with the quarter finishing March compared to the quarter finishing February. You'll find that there are similar trend results when we just look at that with month-on-month data. But it's certainly a positive environment now for housing. Still, of course, below where we were a year ago. But I think we can confidently say, Michael, perhaps we've bottomed out in the marketplace.
Well, you were one of the first ones to call this at the end of last year with the asking prices, and your figures have been very robust so far. So let's break it down because clearly the markets are fragmented. Each state's performing differently. Let's first look at houses and then units.
Well, when we look at the breakdown of the national house price in terms of capital city performances, Michael, of course, we know that Sydney, or that the national house price is the weighting is contributed to based on the size of each of the capital city markets. And of course, Sydney and Melbourne are clearly the largest of the capital city markets, so they contribute the most to the national house price. And no surprise, Sydney monthly house price was higher by 1.3%, another increase following the February increase and a higher increase from February. So the Sydney market price growth is accelerating. And we also had an increase of 0.8% in Melbourne, which is the first monthly increase recorded since April last year. And house prices have also increased in Brisbane, up by 0.2%, Adelaide up 0.1%, and Perth higher by 0.5%. The smaller markets, Hobart, Canberra and Darwin, bucked the rising trend, with prices falling by 1.1%, 0.4% and 0.3% respectively for each of those capitals. But certainly the big capitals all recorded higher price growth over the March quarter, Michael. And of course, that's what's contributed to a robust result, again, a reasonably robust result from the national house price, and certainly higher than February. But prices still remain lower in most capital cities compared to the same time last year. The underperformer is Canberra there, where prices are down by 11.9%. Sydney's still down 8% and Melbourne down 5.6%. So look, with rising house prices, Michael, perhaps it's part of the improving energy in housing markets, maybe the perception that it is a good time to buy now that prices are rising and are still, however, below where they were a year ago. So those value perceptions can help to stimulate the market. And we saw a similar occurrence in 2019 when markets bounced back early in the year, despite a lot of negativity and, of course, lower prices over the previous year.
Well, we are seeing the same on the ground. Buyers are turning up at open for inspections, and every week you report the auction clearance rates. And that's a real good in-time indicator of how sellers and buyers are feeling. And so these aren't really a surprise, the fact that prices are starting to rise now, related to more buyers out there at a time of limited stock. The apartment market also did well this month, Andrew.
Yes, similar results with the apartment market, Michael, which has actually been, compared to houses, quite a strong performer over the past year. So we've seen, similar to houses, a consecutive increase in the national median unit price over March. And when we look at the capital city performances, we can see Adelaide, which is a small market, Michael, for units and can tend to be volatile, those quarter-to-quarter results on a monthly basis, up by 4.2%, but the Melbourne market up by 1.6%, and Sydney for the second month in a row has recorded higher unit prices over the March quarter, up by 0.9%. Small markets were actually moving the other way, similar to what we saw with houses, with Hobart, again, a very small unit market in Hobart, Michael, so that tends to be volatile. The results in Hobart down by 8.8%, and prices were also lower in Canberra and Darwin, down by 1.3%. and 1.5% respectively. Over the year, we've seen, which is interesting, Michael, that Brisbane and Adelaide have recorded the strongest growth over the past year for unit prices. In fact, Adelaide up, with a very strong result, up 12.8% still over the past year. And Brisbane, which of course has a much larger unit market than Adelaide, up by 8.7%. Hobart, again, I reiterate, these are small unit markets in some of these smaller capitals, and results can be volatile, but Hobart unit prices are down by 10% over the year, and Darwin down 2.7%. Sydney unit prices down 4.2%, and Melbourne still down 7.1% over the year, despite that increase of 1.6% over the month. So I think really, Michael, when we look at the figures, they're certainly reflecting rising energy in our housing markets. Perhaps a bit of a surprise given those 10 consecutive months of interest rate increases. I still think we're going to get another increase next week, but we'll sit on our hands and wait and see until that occurs, and we'll have plenty to talk about with those results. But I do think the key here, Michael, is a booming economy. We have the lowest unemployment rate, monthly unemployment rate on record. Wages are rising at the fastest rate in over 10 years. And of course, we've got a flood of migration creating significant demand, extra demand into our undersupplied housing market. Of course, as interest rates rise, that will act as an anchor to housing market activity. But certainly so far, and to many who predicted price crashes as a result of higher rates, are really having to reassess their forecasts and their commentary, because it's not just the single month of quarterly results, Michael. Now we have some consistency over the past 2 months. The Sydney market that led the market downwards last year is now leading the market back out of the gloom, I guess we could say. The narrative will all be about the national house price, and of course that really does reflect what's happening in Melbourne and Sydney.
Well, the likelihood of a generalised revival remains. Let's see what happens over the autumn selling season. I guess the big factor really is going to be what the RBA does, but more than that, what the media keeps telling us, because if the media keeps throwing all the negative messages out, that's going to dampen consumer confidence.
Yeah, that's right, Michael, but it hasn't worked so far, and maybe we're not listening to the media as closely as we used to, but certainly these numbers are, and I think you'll find other data models will be producing similar results as they did last month. And as I said, you can't hide the numbers, and this is tiny steps forward. There's still plenty of work to be done, particularly given the fact that I think there's still plenty of work to be done by the RBA to control inflation. And that should mean higher interest rates, which will always be problematic for the housing market because it means you just have to pay more for your mortgage.
Well, clearly there are multiple factors affecting our housing markets, and as we've often said, interest rates are only one of them.
That's right.
And despite interest rates rising, clearly the market is moving forward. So I look forward to catching up with you again next week, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Discuss next week the rental market, and unfortunately, there's some tough news there for tenants.
Yes, the rental crisis is going to be with us for some time. Thanks, Andrew.
Thanks, Michael.